I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. Jake has spirit. He has some heart. He tried his best, and I take my hat off to him because, number one, a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me, and Jake did. And secondly, even when he got knocked down, he kept on trying to get up.
I'm retiring from boxing. I'm getting hit in the fucking face every single day.
Anthony Joshua did not mock, dismiss, or minimize Jake Paul's unexpected announcement. Instead, he responded with respect. After Jake Paul revealed that he was stepping away from boxing following a brutal knockout that resulted in a broken jaw, Joshua was asked for his thoughts, and the former heavyweight champion offered a notably supportive response. Rather than adding to the criticism, AJ praised Jake's fighting spirit, recognizing the courage required to step into the ring, especially for someone without a traditional boxing background. Joshua made it clear that while criticism is part of the sport, respect in boxing begins with a willingness to try, and in his view, Jake Paul demonstrated exactly that.
Around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's two things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or you're gonna get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter. So I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. But as we saw tonight, Jake has spirit.
Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn did not retreat from his earlier prediction, but his tone became more serious after the fight. Looking back at his comment that this bout could end Jake Paul, Hearn said the result unfortunately supported that view. He explained that injuries such as a broken jaw are not only painful, but also extremely challenging, both mentally and physically, to recover from, particularly for a fighter still developing at the highest level. Hearn pointed out that time away from sparring, fear of injury, and a loss of rhythm can permanently change a boxer's career path. While he recognized Jake's toughness and willingness to step into competition, Hearn emphasized that boxing is unforgiving, and situations like this often force fighters to question whether the risk is truly worth it.
I'll follow with you because when this fight was first announced, you had said something to the effect of this would end Jake Paul's career. After what you saw tonight, do you think that Jake should continue to box, or what do you think the future holds for him?
Yeah, no, I really take my hat off. I mean, we have to see if it is a broken jaw. Those injuries are very difficult to come back from. But as AJ said, like that last shot would have knocked out a lot of heavyweights. And I know he went down heavy, but you know, he was conscious on the floor. And I thought his game plan, although obviously very negative early on, which it had to be, was smart at times. And there were times where he held his feet and let his hands go. You know, it was a very one-sided fight. It was always going to be a one-sided fight. But you can't give him anything but credit and respect. There's a lot of negative people out there. There's a lot of people who want to criticise people. They're not doing what Jake Paul's done. He just went in with Anthony Joshua and gave it his best shot. Took a lot of punishment and ended the fight eventually.
Paul's game plan against Anthony Joshua centered on movement, speed, and avoiding Joshua's power for as long as possible. Before the fight, Paul openly said his strategy was to rely on agility and footwork, constantly circling the ring, keeping his distance, and forcing Joshua to chase him. The goal was to frustrate the former heavyweight champion and survive all 8 rounds. Paul and his team both stated that the priority was to stay away from that one big shot and depend on cardio and angles to make it to the end. The approach was straightforward: keep moving, disrupt Joshua's rhythm, and make him miss instead of engaging directly with a heavier and more experienced puncher.
Saw the game plan from both guys from round one. Jake was very mobile. I mean, he had the happy feet going. He was circling around the outside of the ring. He was not looking to engage in elongated combinations. He was not looking to stand in the center of the ring with AJ. And people are going to say Jake ran from AJ, and you're right. Because guess why? He absolutely had to. Again, talked about this in the build-up to the fight. He had to be mobile. He had to be on his bike. So yes, you're justified in saying Jake ran from him because he had to. He had to. And anybody that convinced themselves that Jake was going to walk to the center of the ring, stand in the phone booth with AJ, and trade punches until someone laid flat, you were lying to yourself, or you convinced yourself of something you saw in the promo. This was always going to be the way the fight went. I wasn't surprised at all that this is the way that Jake started and pretty much fought the entire time. I was a bit surprised that AJ didn't assert himself earlier. Now, again, it is very hard to hurt someone that doesn't want to engage in a continuous fight. Round one, very much a feeling out process for AJ. Didn't really look like he did much, but Jake didn't either. There was one right hand that AJ landed in the first round that shook Jake up. That's the danger that was coming for Jake the entirety of the fight. The second and third rounds were pretty much the same, a bit of a mixed bag in terms of Jake tried to get on his jab more. He did land some jabs that snapped the head back of AJ and landed some right hands, but this was all calculated risk for AJ as well, because he knew as long as he turned that faucet on and let the water run and let it fill up the sink and never turned the faucet off, that eventually he would drown Jake, right? So every round it was pressure, front foot, front foot, front foot, and AJ strategically breaking down Jake's gas tank. I will say I'm pretty let down by the fact that AJ didn't cut the ring. I was shocked that he didn't go to the body more. I was shocked that he didn't set up his punches more, didn't get his head off the center line more. It was not a great performance from AJ, but at the same time, AJ had just come off a loss. AJ had just come off surgery. I'm not making excuses, but it wasn't.
Kisa Badirian also spoke up in defense of Jake Paul, emphasizing that the fight's result doesn't erase what actually took place in the ring. According to Nikisa, Jake executed his game plan exactly as intended on fight night, following the strategy they developed in camp and performing as instructed round by round. He highlighted that boxing is unforgiving one mistake or a single clean shot can change everything. Yet, from a tactical perspective, Jake did what he was meant to do, demonstrating discipline, preparation, and growth despite the harsh outcome.
It was a moral victory because he expected to win. I do think he showed who he is as a fighter. I think he deployed the strategy that he was very clear about going into, that he was going to look to make AJ miss. And AJ missed a number of times. And ultimately, I think the weight of AJ caught up to Jake Paul. If you look at the first 3 rounds, AJ wasn't really able to touch him. But when AJ was in a clinch with him a couple of times, pushed down on the back of his neck, pushed down on the back of his head, got him to the ground. There was a few times where Jake looked like he was going for a takedown. Again, that was Jake trying to engage in the clinch, and AJ smartly moved back. In one instance, I think it was the 5th round, Jake engaged for a clinch, AJ moved back and started punching down on Jake's back. So all of those things kind of deteriorated or emptied Jake's gas tank a lot earlier than I think he expected it to. But overall, I thought he deployed his game plan well for the first 5 rounds and actually had some success. He even moved AJ back a few times, 1 by just jabbing in the air, and 2, when he caught him, he moved AJ back. AJ came right back in and swung.
Shared her emotional reaction to the fight, describing herself as heartbroken, yet proud following Jake Paul's brutal knockout loss to Anthony Joshua. She highlighted that people are beginning to respect Paul for his effort and courage inside the ring. According to Badirian, Jake delivered his best performance under immense pressure, facing one of the most elite heavyweights in boxing history. Her response reflects a mix of sadness and admiration, echoing the feelings of many fans who were disappointed by the loss but still recognize Paul's bravery and dedication.
I want to talk about news that broke out, and it's someone that you've always shown respect to, and I've asked you these questions before about Jake Paul. We had a surprise announcement just the other day about him and Anthony Joshua. What was your reaction when you saw that announcement. It shocked a lot of people in boxing. What did you make of that? Or what do you make
Jake
of that?
hasn't made too many mistakes so far. So it got my attention. It got Teddy's attention. He's been growing. He's been growing in the ring. He's been growing outside the ring. He's been growing in confidence. I think that in the Canelo situation, that didn't happen. He was ready to do that. I think if anything else, if nothing else, he's showing you that he truly is believing in himself. And that, you know, he's been a work in progress. He still is. And he's showing you, he's putting his money where his mouth is. Everyone's calling for him to do this, to do that. And, you know, he's always had the advantage with guys that weren't real fighters. They were fighters, they were older fighters, they were MMA fighters, they were this, they were that. They were smaller, they were older. Now he's taking a guy that's bigger, older, but bigger. A real, can't debate if he's a fighter. 2-time heavyweight champ. Coming off, but he's a smart son of a gun. He's a gutsy son of a... I always stood up for him because everyone was saying he was hurting the sport. He wasn't hurting the sport. In some ways, he was bringing interest in a different way to the sport. But
Do you think Jake deserves the praise despite the loss? Or was Joshua's experience always going to decide the outcome? Share your thoughts in the comments below.